Hey everybody, it's your boy Captain Hunter coming at you again. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please make sure that you do me a favor, and that is hit that rate, subscribe, and share button. Hit that rate, subscribe, and share button. Let's make it do what it gotta do. We're going to try to finish off with number 3. I don't want to make this any longer. I don't want to go to number 4, but we're going to finish off with this paper that we've been going through by Dr. Danielle Bell, Pick Me, Black Women, Tactical Patriarchal Femininity in the Black Manosphere, right? So the premise of her paper is that these women podcasters, women YouTubers are displaying a certain type of femininity in order to gain the resources of provider black men in particular, to their benefit. And she's saying, and it's a performance. That's her mantra. That's what she's saying. It's a performance, right? It's not real. Maybe if circumstances were different, then they would behave in a different manner. So that she certainly has every right to believe what she wants about that. But we've been reading through the paper. Check out parts 1 through 2, and just to kind of catch up. I'm just trying to give mine. Now, I'm admittedly not a well-read on this type of thing. Since I've come into this space, I've read a little bit more, but I'm certainly no expert, as I'm sure that Miss Dr. Bell is. But I'm catching up, right? So it's taking me a long time to get through this, because I'm actually, pausing it and reading through some of the references, because I'm genuinely interested into this whole idea. And I can appreciate, her point of view as far as if it is indeed tactical, then okay, we need to call out hypocrisy, right? Let's not go around pretending, right? And you could be messing up other people in the relationship or trying to get them to act and perform a certain way. However, I do think that historically, males and females have had traditional gender and or sex roles. And I think that worked for so many years. And due to technology today, there is a wishing for and hoping for a change to those types of normalities. So, hey, listen, it's up to you to do whatever's best for you. Adjust my camera here. It's up to you to do whatever is best for you, and make the best decisions that you can make for yourself. So having said that, I want to take a moment here and read a comment that I got on another, on part 1. So I really appreciated the brother's contribution here. This says, this is by Golden Child. Hope you guys can read it there. Golden Child 325, probably a shout out to Eddie Murphy's old movie back then, Golden Child. I don't know. Great video analysis. You see the women that are against pick-me's have a problem with black men being treated with respect by their own women. You never see these women called divestors or swirlers pick-me's. I have not, in this article that we've read about, there has not been any attack by Ms. Bell towards any so-called divestors, women who have sworn off black men and only date white women. Only date white men. They sworn off black men, only date white men. Those are black women who do this, and those are called divestors or swirlers. And because black men think that black men are dusty, that they don't have whatever it takes. And there's also this idea to put forth that you got to put forth there's so much more swag, right? And so much more effort to date a black man, right? A black man's got to bring this to the table. He's got to be this so tall, have this bank account, have this job, whatever. But the idea is that if you're going to date a white guy, if you're a black woman going to date a white guy, he doesn't have to have all that, right? So why this extra pressure on black men? Probably because of our social status and all that, but we're doing something about that. Pick-me's, you never call them divestors or swirlies or pick-me's, is because the apple of their eyes are non-black men, more specifically white men. Black men who work hard and have decent set of morals and want to be leaders in their household deserve women who support them. Completely agree with you, brother. The most famous pick-me nowadays is Simone Biles. She loves and adores her black husband. I bet if Simone Biles' husband was a white man, we would not be dealing with the disrespect that he's not getting not just from black women, but all types of women and male feminists online, right? So I haven't seen any male feminist bashing. Simone Biles' husband, Jonathan Owens, that's his name, right? I think that's his name, Jonathan Owens. He's not just Simone Biles' husband. The man actually has a name. I think his name is Jonathan Owens. I think she only thinks it's derogatory for black women in the context of treating a black man with respect and submitting to a black man. Interchange the black man with any other race of man. I don't think she has a problem with a woman's being a pickme, right? Remember her definition of pickme is a woman who's putting on a performance. That's her. It's tactical patriarchy, right? It's doing this to get that, right? It's well thought out, planned strategy in order to get something. The author obviously hates black men and does not want to see black men and black women in a loving relationship where there's mutual respect for one another. These women are the true hateful people because they see black men as nothing but beasts of burden for their own personal gain and walking phalluses for their own pleasure. I look forward to part 2. Well, I did part 2, brother. I don't know if you checked it out. But I certainly do appreciate you checking out this particular video. And of course, we have Miss Simone Biles here. Oh, there it is. I know I had the picture pulled up. So we can see that here's Jonathan Owens, proposing to her. He's down on one knee, giving her the traditional work here, traditional mindset here. And why this is important is because we're going to get into this, right? This type of storybook wedding, right? She's in love. Right here is a picture of her very, very excited. Right here, she is showing a ring and all this kind of stuff, right? So good for them as a couple, right? So this man doted on her, was falling all over her, and then he goes into an interview on a podcast, and he says the men are the prize. Well, I don't like all this prize talk all the time, but listen. The best of the best got each other. Let's just leave it there, right? Because if you were a guy, right, if there was a chief in a tribe in the ancient times, or you took the king or the monarch or a village leader or whatever type of authority figure, the general of an army, right? Generally, the ladies would flock toward that guy. So he was the prize, right? And so and also at the same time, he had the pick of the litter. He had the best of the best, right? I want that one. Oh, excuse you. I want that one over there. That's the way he did it. Right. So in essence, they're both the prize. However, I would say that it's got to lean more towards the men because there's less chiefs, generals. There's less of them to go around. So now there's this idea, in particular for the case of Ms. Biles, right? She's a great athlete, and she's done so much with the Olympics, and she's great, and so therefore in that respect, the controversy was that she is the prize. She has attained this level of status, and she's got a guy who's in the NFL. He's a B-rate player in the NFL. I never heard of him. I don't even know if he made the All-Star game, but nevertheless, he's still a top tier man, right? How many people in NFL? 600, 700, 800, something like that. Total NFL, maybe more than that. Maybe I don't even know how many people are in it. But he made it there, right? One of the best of the best. He made a great decision in the wife he chose. I think that Miss Simone Biles is a very, very good looking woman. So I think they look good together. I think that they, should be an aspiration that we should be aspiring to. But instead, because of the words that came out of his mouth about men being the prize, that caused this big controversy. So listen, I don't want to get into that whole thing. I want to stick to this, but I'm saying that because the title of what we're going to read now, right? Hopefully we're going to get through the last chapters. I don't care how long it's going to take me, right? We're going to read through the last of these. So it's a storybook life, right? Storybook life in quotations. Black housewives, a tactical patriarchal femininity. Now, I have not read this yet. I'm reading this for the first time, but I know that, there's been a lot of work and a lot of people debunking. I can think of Green Gorilla. He's a podcaster. He did a great series or maybe one episode on the idea that women traditionally have always worked. right? This idea that they want to sit on the couch and just get massages and you know, maybe make a lunch all day is a new invention, really, probably in the 1950s. Even if you, I'm not going to get all biblical on you, but even if you go to the biblical times, right? There's that Proverbs 30 or 31 woman. I can't remember what it is. I used to be a really, really big biblical scholar. I can't remember what it is. I think it might be Proverbs 31 woman. When you read through that, it talks about the woman who, even though the guy was doing what he had to do, the woman was at the market. She was making deals. She was doing things, right? She was doing things. You know, if you take a look at different, even different movies, I'm not saying that these are, you know, the movies are accurate, but I'm saying when you look at history, you can see that the women were at the well, the women were doing something all day. They were going to get the water. They were going to do helping with the kids. They were in the fields doing less manual labor than the males, but still some type of manual labor. And then, of course, we get to the Black American experience where we were enslaved first. Men were primarily brought over here first. Not enough women, and they wanted to, you know, breed. So that's when they bring the women over. And then even from emancipation, they still had to do some type of work. So this idea of this storybook life that Dr. Bell is talking about here has never really been a black experience. It's never been. From the from African times to colonial times to slavery times till now, it has never been an experience where women were just able to sit back and just drink tea all day and make maybe a couple of sandwiches and your responsibility was just your husband. Even today, I think it's something like 70% of married couples are still the woman works. Either she's the breadwinner or she's you know, at least working, right, in order to make things work. So very, very few, it might even be a smaller number than that. I didn't Google it, but there's very, very few women who are really, really complete 100 stay-at-home wives. So let's get into this. It's a storybook life, right? No more Princess Anne and Princess and the Frog and Cinderella and what Kevin Samuels called the Disneyfication of the American dream, right? This is what they all want, right? Somebody to ride in a white knight, the Snow White and Cinderella and Rapunzel and all this type of stuff. Want this guy, you know, you're in the tower just waiting to be caught. So we're trying to wake people up to reality, the way things really are. Traditional femininity, trad femme, Black women housewives are often the entry point for young Black women who come to fully embrace anti-feminism. This is because the trad femme community is Black woman-centered, ostensibly welcoming and supportive, and like much online influencer culture, largely aspirational, right? This is what they want to get to. I agree with you so far, Dr. Bell. Their content often centers homemaking, Christianity, and motherhood, but I am not religious. So her idea about Christianity, I think, is good. Is something worth noting, right? Is this a strictly would we think this way? Would we be having these problems if we did not have this Western bent and Western Christianity? I don't know. If we didn't start this way, we wouldn't be here, right? There wouldn't be this backlash if we wouldn't have been thinking this way in the first place. Just food for thought. Traditional feminine Black women pair advice to submit to men and pursue patriarchal marriages with a pleasing aesthetic that touts the peacefulness and benefits of full-time homemaking. This content portrays Black women as happy, empowered, romantically loved, and free to enjoy leisure. Well, I think that, yeah, well, no disagreement so far, right? Painting a picture here. These content creators provide Black women with tips about how to practice tactical patriarchal femininity. The videos are often instructive, giving the do's and don'ts of femininity. They often co-opt the language of popular feminism to reinvent what Black women's empowerment should look like. These videos especially draw in young, unmarried Black women who are seduced by the idea that the correct behavior and aesthetic they too can marry a man who will make them a housewife. Young Black women can find these channels by searching the term traditionally feminine, homemaker, stay-at-home wife, mom wife, and adding Black as a modifier. Here's Courtney Michelle again. Chantel, you have an assigned seat at the Planned Parenthood. Let's talk about it. Your womb is a tomb. Okay. YouTube video thumbnail was Chantel Simone's video, KKK Courtney's and Karen's I Am Courtney Shaw, which shows Courtney saying Chantel is the assigned seat at Planned Parenthood and removes the tomb. I'm not exactly sure what this screenshot has to do with what she's talking about. It doesn't seem to go in with this, but I could be missing something here. They must be first directed to a seemingly innocuous video that displays the peacefulness of baking, flower arranging, or doing light housework while waiting for a husband to return home. But eventually, they will be directed to a more explicitly anti-feminist videos that preach the value of economic, sexual, and intellectual submissiveness to a husband. Rather than focusing on performing paid labor outside the home, trad femme black women focus on the labor of homemaking and define it as the noblest accomplishment a woman can have. Obviously, as a feminist, you would disagree with that. This deification of homemaking exists within a different context than it does in mainstream white trend femme communities. Okay, now this is going to be interesting. So it's different then. Unlike white women, black women have been historically barred from being full-time caretakers of their own homes due to economic coercion and vagrancy laws. Agreed. Even today, married black homemakers are a small minority amongst black women. Within the trad femme subculture, there are several black women vloggers who discuss the positives of their everyday lives as homemakers. They view themselves as disrupting stereotypes, both about the value of homemaking and the femininity of black women. Let me Google this Let me take a second here to Google this and to figure out how many homemakers there are. All right, so this is interesting. As I Google this, the share who stay at home parents differs between men and women. 26% of mothers and 7% of fathers. So I wasn't too off with the numbers. 26%, right? So of mothers stay at home, 7% of fathers. And I had to throw this in here, right? You can see what I Googled here. How many women are stay-at-home wives? There's a show I want to do I just haven't had time to do it yet. I want to show that they're really trying to convince us that men could be wives. I'm going to do this show. There's a show about us. It's a show, and they're intentionally trying to brainwash into thinking that men can be wives. Almost 1 in 5 stay-at-home parents. Almost 1 in 5 stay-at-home parents in the U.S. are dads. I didn't ask that question. That's not the question I asked. What percentage of married women stay at home? Let's look at this one. Nearly a quarter of American mothers now identify. A quarter of American mothers, still 25% stay at home parents. A sharp rise from 15% in 2022, according to a large survey of women conducted by Motherly, an advocacy group, right? And after decades of decline, this is 2014, it's 10 years old, a rise in stay at home mothers. So it's around a quarter of mothers. Let's see if we can aggregate this and see how many black women. Let's see how many black. Let's take a look at Essence here. Let's see what Essence has to say. The Real Housewives of Black Women. These stay-at-home moms discuss the realities of prioritizing families over finances. Can you see this? I just wanted the numbers. I don't want to read all this. Jackie Pointer, 36, 4 p.m. after a few hours. Yeah, okay. But how many? She joins the marginal 18% of U.S. parents who choose family over care. This small group, only 7% are black women. So out of the 26 or 8, this says 18. So it's roughly about 7% of black women. In that 100%, 7% of are black women. 7% of the 18% or 25%, whatever. Data from the Pew Research shows most traditional stay-at-home mothers with a working husband are commonly Asian, white, and Latinx. So those are the ones that black women want to get up to. According to the Bureau of Economic Analysis, the average cost of living in Indiana will run you around $38,000 a year. I need to move to Indiana, even after factoring inflation. As pointed, and this is this is not long ago. This is last year, 2023. Keep all that in perspective. So that's the numbers there. So YouTuber Ebony Nikita Okeke, I don't know, who has over 12,000 subscribers, exemplifies the aspirational orientation of the black trad femme community as a married housewife in her early 20s. She's based in Atlanta, Georgia, became a stay-at-home wife at the age of 21, and makes videos for current and aspiring black housewives and homemakers. Her videos are largely driven by idyllic aesthetic, which includes the modify 50s dressing, classical music, and flower arrangements. Why is she dressed in the 1950s? Why do you got to do that? Well, I haven't seen any of your stuff. I'm just assuming what Dr. Bell is saying is correct. She routinely shares her day in a life where she shows herself her activities such as cooking, baking, around the house, drinking tea, reading books, and doing her makeup. See, this I would agree that this is craziness. If this is what you're aspiring to, then I think that I agree with Dr. Bell that that's problematic. I absolutely agree with that, because it's not really reality. And again, as I mentioned, there's a good video. If I can find it, let me see if I can find it. All right, I could not find the exact video that he did, but this brother is a PhD, I believe. I'm subscribed to him on another platform, another platform. But he's got some stuff, and I put in a search bar for wives, and he did a video about, we were never, black women were, same thing that Dr. Bell is saying here. This was never, our plight. But I decided to pull this up because here's the woman I can work with, highlighting the work of Camille Paglia. I've watched a number of her videos. She is awesome. She's a feminist. She's awesome. And she says that there's a difference between male and female. And she doesn't even identify as really as a woman. She identifies as kind of pan or kind of transgender or something like that. She can't really give an explanation as to what she is. She's not a straight female. So it's not but she's a lesbian and on the spectrum as far as sexuality and all that, but she says that men ought to be men. So yeah, and so when he says women I can work with, highlighting the work of Camille Paglia, I agree with her. I agree with him on that. She's definitely sane. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to keep going through that. Let's get back to the video. I just want to highlight that work and let you know that there is a video out here that Green Gorilla did do that highlights what Dr. Bell is saying as well as here too, right? This idea of cooking, baking, doing makeup all day and all this kind of foolishness, right? If you're looking for that, then maybe that I would agree with her that if that's what you're aspiring to. If you just want to sit around doing your nails and baking and you don't want to work, you don't want to do anything. The ladies of the past always had to work. They were down by the river washing clothes. They were down doing more traditional feminine housework, right? Planting smaller vegetables in their gardens. They were doing something, right? Something to help the family. Sometimes her videos will end with her excitingly welcoming her husband home from work. Right, the Jetsons, right? The Jetsons or the Flintstones. That's what the people are looking for. He always stays out of the frame, as if the idea of the provider husband is more important than seeing the actual real life husband. Too black, pretty for a black girl, overcome stereotypes. I guess this is her femininity for black women, 5 tips, Ebony Nikita. So if this is what you're trying to do, then yeah. If that's what your aspirations is, I would agree to Dr. Bell that it's kind of foolish. Ebony's content shows the light of the, now again, these are, let me also say that I'm sure that Dr. Bell, who's watched thousands of hours of this, according to her, is also cherry picking this type of thing. She's cherry picking. She's showing that this is probably the worst of the worst that she's come in contact with. Ebony's content shows the light and fun parts of homemaking, almost as if she's playing house for a nearly homogeneously women audience who leave comments about her sheer peace and pure tranquility. You are truly a role model to us, younger and older. Beautiful Black Swan 2021. Another commenter stated her vlogs are the cutest thing I've ever seen. Many unmarried young women subscribers stated that she is a big inspiration. One young black woman stated, I love seeing this. Most of the feminine homemaker YouTube videos I like are white, and don't get me wrong, I love them, but it's nice to see a black feminine homemaker. She revels in the positives of homemaking, having flexibility, not worrying about the stress of working, and living what she calls a storybook life. So here I gotta agree with, from the perspective that she's painting, I'm saying that she's cherry picking. Dr. Bell is obviously cherry picking. I haven't seen any of this content, so I don't know. I'm sure that she's cherry picking. But if this is the aspiration that you're trying to get to, then it is a performance. It is a performance, right? I certainly would be out slugging all day, and he was walking around with white heels on all day and just making video. Come on now, you got to get some work done around here, right? We got to bless this, do what we got to do for the family. So you can still be on our game and on our grind and still be feminine, I can still be Jonathan Owens. You can be Simone Biles. We can still be out here getting it, but the man has a role to protect and provide for his family. Fulfill your role. Ebony's tactical patriarchal femininity is highly related to visuals and language. She calls her subscribers dolls and talks about the value of primping. Dr. Bell really has a problem with this performance that these ladies are putting on. She also favors dressing femininely, but her femininity is also equally about what she does as a stay-at-home wife, right? So this idea, listen, you need someone once in a while. You need to put some sweats on and go out there in the backyard and let's get this work done, right? Plant some tulips and plant some veggies, right? Let's get our diet up as we plant some tomatoes and potatoes and cucumbers and everything else, right? But her femininity is also equally about what she does. She has a complementarian view of gender that aligns with evangelical Christianity. She believes that a woman's role is within the home, that domestic work is valuable work that is necessary for a family to function successfully. Well, I actually agree with that. Somebody's got to stay home. Somebody should be doing it. If you're both going to work, split it. If you're working as a man, you're bringing home 80% of the pay. You're paying 80% of the bill. Then you owe 20% of the work and your wife. So just make it work, right? She believes that a woman's role is within the home and the domestic work is valuable. However, she also emphasizes the importance of women having leisure, time for beauty, and romance. Oh, jeez. Ebony often shares the benefits of being a housewife. In her video, Why I Chose to Be a Young Housewife in My Early 20s, No Kids, she starts by laughingly saying, now one of the very first things that I love about being a housewife is the fact that, guess what? You don't have to work. So Dr. Bell is certainly painting a very heinous picture of this these ladies who want to just be housewives. If you're home with no kids, I don't even understand being home with no kids and all that. But that could be the program that we're all getting into. And I wouldn't mind that, right? I wouldn't mind my woman being a housewife. I wouldn't mind it. But you got to do something productive for the family, for us. If it's just me and her, you got to do something. What did you do all day, right? However, she clarifies that housework is work, but that she'd rather do homemaking work, improving the lifestyle of her own home and family, over working at a job to where it's mainly benefiting the guys on top. Ebony describes being a housewife as having a luxury. She also states that she uses her leisure time to follow her passions and develop her niche interests, such as flower arranging. She also does not view leisure as laziness, but rather being essential to femininity. Men are built to handle stress and strenuous labor, but feminine women are not. Okay. Again, I'm going to have to agree and disagree with Dr. Bell. Clearly, this is, well, I don't know about clearly, but this is certainly a lady who was strategically selected to prove Dr. Bell's point. But how many other feminine coaches out there are advancing this level of nonsensical foolishness? And yes, it should not be one's desire to solely sit around arranging flowers all day. Trad femme black women are attracted to the promise of leisure, romance, and being financially supported. Well, who isn't? Who wants to go out there and work, right? One commentator, for instance, writes, so beautiful and peaceful. It literally like those romance movie I'd be watching like crazy. Victoria, right? She would just want to. I do want a storybook Disneyfication lifestyle, and I'm not for that either, right? Although the trad femme culture is a part driven by a particular hyper-feminine aesthetic meant to be consumed by viewers, yeah, the subculture's aesthetic is just as much about the peace and tranquility exuded in the videos as it is about the physical appearance of the housewife. Trad femme black women view the housewife lifestyle as the panacea against the drudgery of paid work, what allows them to live a soft life, a life without stress and responsibility. However, the neatly hidden underbelly of the trad femme lifestyle is virulent racism, right? So here's where she's going to really, really get into it, right? This is really just I'm sorry, I said racism. Anti-feminism. Anti-feminism here. Okay, we're going to get into it now. For a black woman to earn to be the housewife role in financial protection it supposedly provides, she must accept patriarchy. I don't even know. Did she define patriarchy in this? Let's look at this. She probably did. I just don't remember, because I often have a problem with that word and how they define it. Patriarchy. We're doing page 10 right now. So I went through this and I didn't see where she defined actually what she means by patriarchy. She mentions it, white patriarchy and all that, but she doesn't give a clear definition as to her definition. Submissiveness is the trade-off for a man's financial provision. It cannot be earned any other way. In a video titled Cons of Being a Housewife, Ebony, in a rare moment, speaks directly about finance. She states, some of us ladies have set allowances. Some housewives love that. I personally do. Ebony alludes to the fact that in many provider housewife families, it is the husband who controls the money. Although Ebony concedes that only having access to an allowance might scare some women, she argues that wives only need money for non-necessities such as going shopping at Neiman Marcus. Notably, this financial arrangement is very different from one where both husband and wife have joint access to the household finances. Listen, that can be a disaster. That can be a disaster. This, when things go right, they go right in the marriage. But when they go wrong, man. They go wrong. The same patriarchal ideology that infantilizes women by saying they belong at home also justifies women lacking access to money on their own terms. Patriarchal men retain power over their wives through their total control of household finances, and a trad femme wife must be satisfied with the arrangement. Yeah. Everybody's arrangement, I would say, is going to be different. You can still have certain patriarchal or what I would define it as headship, leadership by the man, and still have access to finances. Right? I can't see me really setting an allowance. If I had a stay-at-home wife, I would certainly give her a certain money to go spending and whatever. But I would also make sure that she had access to the bank cards. Right? What if I'm stuck somewhere? I need her to send me some money or something. Why would you, but it's marriage is, there is an ideological disconnect between trad femme black women and black manosphere, the very men who are meant to be their husbands. While trad femme black women argue that men and women are not equal, both serve an important and distinctive function. The black manosphere largely believes that the masculine role of being a financial provider will always be more important and more valuable than Actually, I don't think that they say that. At least I haven't seen it. I haven't listened to all the content, but I certainly have not seen that. This justifies the view of patriarchal wives as being below their husbands, even as they fulfill their supposedly natural roles as mothers and homemakers. It's not natural for women to be mothers. Okay. All right. Black manosphere largely believes that the masculine role of being a financial role will always be more important and more valuable. I haven't seen anybody who said it's more important. I think that they say that they're both equally important. This is what I would say. They're both equally important. They're just different. I don't know how a guy comes home after, if you do have a traditional guy working, how he comes home, and if things aren't done, if she hasn't done the things that they need to be done, the kids aren't fed, the home is not clean, nobody's gone to practice, nobody's done their homework, nobody the kid. If none of those things are done, nobody's done the shopping, nobody's done the cooking, nobody's done. Those things are important. Those things are important. And why can't each other take that off each other's plate? If I go out there and provide, why can't you take this responsibility off my plate? Even if it's a 70-30 split or 80-20 split or 90-10 split or whatever, take it off my plate. The work's got to get done. Somebody's got to go out there and get the money. Somebody's got to be inside here doing whatever needs to be done. Now, either we're going to both do that in 80, 20, 90, 10, 70, 30 split, 60, 40, whatever. Either we're going to do that and split it, but somebody's got to do it. So if I'm out here 100% doing this, then that has to be done. I don't know why this is a problem. I don't know. I don't know why that's a problem. Now, I think that what Dr. Bell is trying to say is this is just a performance. And if it's just a performance, and if you're just trying to live this type of lifestyle because you're really just lazy, and you don't want to do that, well, I mean, but if you're willing to give that trade-off, you're willing to give that trade-off. If that's what you want to do, that's what you got to do, right? On the 8 at the Table, a predominantly black YouTube show that discusses various issues related to heterosexual relationship, a black man asked, if I pay every bill in the house and I fix everything in the house because I'm an electrician, what are you bringing to the table other than sex? The black woman responded by saying that she is a homemaker, that she makes the house into a home. In response, he stated, that's $600 per week and everything you're telling me can be bought. 8 at the Table. Okay, so I've heard these arguments. So I would ask the question, I mean, what do you want? I mean, that to me would be the answer. That to me would be the answer. If the answer is, I'm going out here getting my stuff, I'm getting it, providing you with a home, you're saying you're going to be a homemaker. Maybe he wanted that listed out. I'm going to cook, I'm going to clean, I'm going to give you 5 meals a week. Maybe you can take me out the other 2 or 5 meals a week, 3 meals a day. I'll make your lunch. I'll make sure the kids are together. I'll, doing all that stuff, take the kids to practice. All this stuff, right? If I'm doing all that, then what is wrong with that trade-off? I don't understand what this black electrician was looking for. Tell me what the answer is. Tell the ladies out there what the real answer to that is. So I guess he's saying I can pay somebody $600 for a week to fold my clothes, come once or twice a week and clean my house. What is it that you want? I don't understand. I don't understand that. What more do you want? Patriarchal men view money as a tool to buy their wife's submission and ultimately her domestic, reproductive, and sexual labor. It's labor now, right? They do not view money as a family or communal asset meant for the wife's well-being as much as their own. That sounds like a patriarchal white talking point that they would use in court, right? It's a family communal asset. Is the work that I do a family communal work? Right? If I'm out there lugging logs up a hill, right? Is that family and communal, right? This nullifies the protector and provider role that tribal women cling to as a major benefit of their I don't agree with that. Why is it? This nullifies the protector and provider role. This is my role is to protect and provide. I don't agree with this statement. My role is to protect and to provide. That's my role. In return, what do I get for protection and provision? Right? That's what it is. Ultimately, the black manosphere sustains the patriarchal hierarchy, right? Meaning white Christianity, where men and masculinity are inherently more valuable than women and femininity. No, I don't think they've ever said that. I don't think that they've ever said. Well, that's not true. I've heard. I have. Now that I think about it, I do think that people. I'm trying to give a fair assessment here. I do think that they would say that if society broke down prior to this internet technological age that we're living in, if everything broke down tomorrow, women in general, this is what they say, women in general would flee to a man, right? Because you want to be protected and you want to be provided for, right? Well, men and masculinity are more, so that I think that's what they're probably saying is more valuable. I don't know if I would say it's more valuable, right? Because if I'm living by myself, I'm out there logging wood and cutting, things break down, or even now, right? I'm out there doing it. It's not more valuable. It is. They're equally valuable. I still would have to do X, Y, and Z. And if I am not as good as doing the homemaking type of stuff, and I hire somebody to do that, I would have to pay them to do that. Or you can just come in here and we have an interaction and an exchange. I do this, give you protection and provision, and you do that. You provide for the home, make sure that this is what they want. This is what they're trying to convey. I would agree with that. I think, yeah. This is the problem that we're running into, is that nobody wants to do this contract anymore. So this is the contract. This is the contract that nobody wants anymore. They don't want that contract. They want their own money. They don't want to be the sexual slaves to somebody and all this. They don't want to be sexual slaves. They don't want to be, what is she? So they don't want any of that. She said something in here about, their role, something like that. But in the process, this community can encourage young single black women to have an incredibly narrow focus on pursuing marriage to the detriment of other concerns or aspirations. What if those are your aspirations? What if those are your concerns? What if those are your aspirations? What if those are your concerns? A YouTube commentator exemplifies this when she writes, "I'm currently 18 years old. I'm working hard for the next 5 years so I can settle down and be a housewife. This content also encourages young women to pursue patriarchal men who will provide the storybook romantic life that is advertised, since these men's desire for a homemaker correlates with the desire to dominate, control women." I don't know if it's about domination. I just think that they think that it's a natural order and that this is what they want. This is what they think is a natural order, that these things do better in this dynamic. These things do better, particularly in the society that we live in. That's what they're saying. I'm on your team, Black Manosphere Women and Tactical Patriarchal Femininity. In addition to homemakers like Ebony, there are more explicitly anti-feminist black women content creators like Courtney Michelle, who largely engage directly with black manosphere men rather than with other black women. They may identify as red-pilled, and their content primarily focus on critiquing black women. Probably women and femininity overall, but whatever. They agree with the black manosphere's perception of black women as angry, hypersexual, and masculine, but position themselves as exceptions to the rules. That's probably true. There are a lot of people who are saying that, right? And this is probably what the turnoff is to identifying with the black manosphere, is that they continually paint black women in these roles, and I don't think that that's helpful. Or with those traits, I don't think that that's helpful. Additionally, they attribute non-heteropatriarchal family structures to the destruction of the black family and community, echoing the decades-old arguments of sociologists such as E. Franklin Frazier and David Patrick Moynihan. Yes, they do echo that. I'm interested to see if she's going to combat. She brought up these two individuals. Are you going to combat that? Let's see. Anti-feminist black women content creators straddle the thin line of making sure not to talk over black manosphere content creators who, due to their supposedly superior status as men, must take precedence. No, I don't think that's the case. I just think it's just rude to interrupt people. If I'm in the middle of an argument, let's have a discussion. I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to listen to you. Now you listen to me. Part of that could be that ladies have had the microphone for so long. Sally Jesse Raphael, Oprah, Ricky Lake, and now men are wanting to say something. You want to cut us off? No, we have something to say. So hear what our desires are. We've heard everybody can tell you what a woman wants in a man. They want a man who's 6 feet tall. They want a man who's tall, dark, handsome. They want a man who's making a certain amount of money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Ask a man what he wants. Ask a man what he wants. Ask a woman what a man wants. And they largely do not know. You have no idea. So let's have a conversation so we can tell you what we like and what we want. Right? Same thing when I read that article from LinkedIn, right? Given the choice, men want a housewife, but then the woman, fem leads. I'm assuming it was a woman who wrote that. You never know now. Whoever wrote the article then said men need to get rid of that and accept this and accept that. Doesn't matter what men want. It didn't matter what men want. This is the way that things are, and we're not going back to the kitchen. And I don't think first of all, you're never in the kitchen, especially as black women. You're never there. You're in somebody else's kitchen. So anyway, and instead usually focus their attention on correcting or critiquing the behavior of black women, a central objective of the black manosphere. Well, yeah, I think there is a little bit of that going on because some of the behavior is out of control. Look at some of these videos and things. Yeah. This correction often deals with beauty standards and feminine behavior. Yeah, agreed. In addition, they make content about the importance of being submissive and domestic in relationships with men. Maybe. Maybe they make that content, I'm saying. Importantly, they are submissive and obsequious toward the specific men who view their content, and this results in a real-time financial profit during YouTube live streams. Yeah. So I do agree that there's probably a lot of performance that is going on here. There's probably a lot of, this space is continually being crowded with people who are trying to cash in on this type of work. I agree with that. While they may emphasize the importance of submitting to men in dating and marriage, they also demonstrate their submissiveness to men in the black manosphere. Okay, now she's spreading. I'm not sure about the whole submissiveness during dating. I don't like that. Yeah, I don't like that. And what does it mean to be submissive, right? These are not really well defined in their work. And let me see if I can find where she defines submissive. What are you defining as submissive? Yeah, again, there's no clear definition as to what she means by patriarchal or submissive. They're quick to apologize if they're critiqued and either welcome or passively ignore any smarmy sexual remarks. Yeah, I don't like when they do that. I really think that the black manosphere, I said this before, I'll say it again. I really believe that the manosphere and the black manosphere in particular really ought to be men talking to men in order to get our stuff together. I really think that really should be the critique. That really should be it. Unfortunately, as Dr. Bell has alluded to, the profit, right? You're going to follow the financial profit, and you're going to do what that takes. And that produces this type of nonsensical type of talk where things get worse and worse. And it's not real. Are we really helping young black boys really understand that they can achieve something higher, that they should achieve for goals? That's the question I really want to answer, right? I want somebody to watch my videos and be inspired to go to school, to go to college, to finish school, go to college, to get a trade, to get a CDL, start a business, invest in properties, become the best version of yourself. So therefore you can attract the best mate that you can. That's my goal. That's my goal. That's what I want to do. This other stuff about shaming women, blaming women, calling them masculine and throwing your passport in the face. I'm not with any of that. They're relentlessly pleasant and actively de-emphasize their authority as women. Their authority as women. They may state that they merely want more women to realize the scam of feminism and work alongside black patriarchal black men. Pickme black women often speak as if they are talking to black women, even though their viewers are mostly black men. Anti-feminist black women content creators must constantly negotiate between the murky boundaries of asserting black manosphere ideology without appearing to lead in creating or sustaining this ideology. So she's saying they're just a bunch of different pick-me's, and they're advancing that. I don't think the really strong men don't want to be challenged I don't think the really strong men want to be challenged every now and then. Right? You want to come home from work. Now I get the argumentative thing. I'm not saying, but you want to come home from work, or you want to, hey, listen, baby, I was thinking about moving to Alaska. You really just want your wife just to start packing up and let's have a discussion. What are the pros and cons of this? How am I going to deal with the family? How are the kids going to work? Right. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I certainly wouldn't want a pushover, right? Let's have a discussion. I would have preferred the last, I said this on other shows, so I would prefer the last word, but listen, you might have the last word in that. Man, that's a good idea. That's what we're going to do. That was a great idea. You think about things they can't think of, right? That doesn't take away from my masculinity at all. I'm not always right all the time, even though I think I am. That must also embody the ethos of traditional femininity, even if their life circumstances may not perfectly align with this 21st century iteration of the true femininity. This performance is contradictory and often fractures in real time. Okay, I want to see this fracturing in real time. Within the black manosphere, pickme black women are praised and gain social and financial currency from the dissemination of anti-feminist talking points. Agreed. Their performance of tactical patriarchal femininity certainly attracts an eager black male audience who are mostly single, average earners, who are disillusioned with dating. They're disillusioned with dating because they're average earners and because they're single, because everybody's going after, and your average salary of $50,000 is seen as disrespected. I don't think that in this article thus far, Dr. Bell has pointed that out, that there are merits to what the black manosphere has been saying. Are they saying it in an overly negative way that is hyper damaging and causes a pushback? Yeah, but that doesn't stop the fact that there's been much work about this, about average earners not being able to, find a mate because the standards are so high. I can't take you to the Cheesecake Factory. Come on. So that needs to be addressed, right? This, you're dumping on these men, these low key disses, right? There's a reason that they're disillusioned. They respond to anti-feminist black women's emotional work and compensate for them for it. Black women within the black manosphere community are careful to perform what would be read as authentic femininity, and it should be authentic. This performance is inherently complicated since they disavow their own expertise vis-a-vis black men and have an obsequious allegiance towards the black manosphere's talking points and the individual vocal men who make up the community. Courtney Michelle, who I quoted at the essay start, is representative of both what anti-feminist black women's content includes and the treatment that they receive from the black community, from the black manosphere community. Courtney Michelle is a fascinating case study of the contradictory experience of being a black woman who makes content within a violently anti-black woman space. While Courtney enjoys significant praise from men within the black manosphere, she has also been subject to extensive attacks on her character and on her commitment to the black manosphere ideology. Who is doing that attacking? Courtney Michelle is a pickme content creator on YouTube based in Nashville. Man, it's just outing these people, who makes videos about the perils of feminism and the importance of traditional femininity. Over the course of several years, Courtney has built a platform of over 30,000 subscribers by regularly performing emotion work during her live streams in the form of reassuring black men of their value, many of whom are single and feel slighted by black women in their personal lives. Again, the slighting is because they're average guys, 5'8", making $50,000 and can't seem to get a woman because they're all being overlooked. And this was not the problem years ago. But listen, I don't think we ought to be crying. I don't think the men ought to be crying about it. I really don't think the men ought to be crying about that. I think you got to do the work for yourselves, understand that we do have value, and then keep it moving, and then find other ways to get what you want. Right? Make it work for you. Do what you got to do. One regular caller named Paul began his interaction with Courtney by saying, "I tried to super chat you. I tried to send you some money. Who told you to hate yourself?" In the roughly 5-minute interaction, Paul states that he is unmarried and desires to be the leader of his home, but does not necessarily feel like a leader now. Well, then you got to work on that, brother. You got to feel like that, right? If you don't feel like a leader, then that energy might be coming off to the women that you're meeting. Courtney consoles him by saying, "When Paul comes up, I know I'm going to hear something important and that your voice matters and it's always going to matter." Paul's response is simply, "I love you," to which Courtney says, "I love you too, Paul." This interaction encapsulates the essential function of tactical patriarchal femininity: to placate men's self-esteem and reassure them of their own superiority. She never said he was superior. She just said that he matters. Never said that never said that because you're a man, you're superior, Paul. At least that's not what you quoted here. Never said that. This was supposedly peer-reviewed. Remember when it's page 13 now. Remember when we started this? I looked at, when you go back to the first page, this is peer-reviewed. Article history received in December 2021, revised and accepted. So I'm assuming all this stuff here is the peer review process, and there's no definition of patriarchy. There's no definition of submissive, and she's writing things in here that just didn't happen. In that moment, Courtney is a dream woman of any black man who is allegiant to the black manosphere ideology. She is conveniently attractive. She is conventionally attractive, seemingly accessible, submissive, and compliant. Versus what they're experiencing in their everyday lives, right? Versus that. Courtney can convincingly play this persona, and as a result, she routinely receives money from men in any given live stream. So this is again saying this is a performance. She's calling her, almost a preacher. This whole con man kind of thing. That's what she's accusing her of. However, Courtney is not universally praised within the black manosphere, which itself fractured and split between various factions and allegiances. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Some men view her as a fake or as merely performing. Same thing you're accusing her of. One commentator, for instance, stated that she was tired of playing submissive for y'all. One commentator just, for instance, stated she was tired of playing submissive for y'all. Others say she slips and shows her true masculine tendencies or is not genuine. These critiques are always around, but particularly spike when she is put into competition with non-black women content creators. When put on a spectrum with other women, black women like Courtney cannot enjoy admiration and respect within her black manosphere, even though she ostensibly fully aligns with their ideology. Her blackness and Americanness, in addition to her status as a single mother, compound to regulate her as the status of being masculine and having fraudulent femininity. Okay. It would be nice to have a citation for this, but whatever. There's no citation for that unless she's giving it to Hollyfield here. As a single mother, Courtney is automatically part of the demographic often derided by black manosphere content creators. Single mothers are blamed for the so-called masculinization of black girls, the so-called feminization of black boys, the economic deterioration of the black community and black men's presence in the prison and industrial complex. I wonder if you have anything to dispute these so-called arguments, right? Is there an emasculation of black boys? Is there a masculinization of girls, right? The masculinization of girls, a masculinization of girls. Is there a feminization of black boys? Is that occurring? Yes or no? The community and prison industrial complex. Listen, our community has problems. This pointing the finger at different individuals is not going to help. We got to figure out the problems, and we got to go to where sociologists and psychologists would say the genesis of the problem is. Single mothers are also viewed as unmarriageable and invaluable to a potential male partner. I've done videos about this. I don't think that that's necessarily the case. I think that some people are saying that in the manosphere, but I don't particularly think that's the case. If you're a single guy, you got kids, you better be looking at some single mothers. In her video titled, "I'm a Traditional Woman, Now I Once Was a Modern Woman," Courtney notes that some viewers deride her by saying she's not real. If she was real, she'd be married. Yeah, that is an argument that I have for the ladies in this manosphere, right? The guys, to the guys, you got to become this high value person, right? This, that, and the other. You got to become this, that, and the other, right? But I'm going to be very, very candid here. These ladies in the manosphere. Dr. Ron O'Neill asked one time, "What's Keisha doing in here?" There's a video he did. What's Keisha doing in this space? And Keisha is a pejorative term for more of the negative things that Dr. Bell has mentioned here. The accusations of being masculine, being loud, single mothers, overweight, right? Those types of things. So in Dr. Neal's question, what's she doing over here, right? To these single mothers, man. I mean, these feminine ladies. If when the camera's off, right? If you're really that way, if you really believe what you're saying, and I have to agree with Dr. Bell, right? If you really believe what you're saying, then somebody will snatch you up, right? You'll go with the guy who's 5'9" and he's making $50,000 or $60,000. It won't be a problem. I guarantee you, they're sliding in your DMs all day. All day, they're sliding in your DMs. All day. Courtney's a good-looking woman. All these women are good-looking women, many of them, and you're not married. To me, it is just a game. Versus a guy who does it, right? Because it takes more right? A guy's got to build himself up. You got to become attractive, right? And then you don't want just any old person, right? I'm sure that the ladies don't want just any old person either. I'm not saying that either one should accept something that's less than them, but I am really, really skeptical of ladies in this space who are claiming to be fit and feminine and friendly as they purport in their videos, and they don't have long-term relationships and or husbands. I suppose somebody could say the same thing about the men, but Courtney notes that some viewers deride her by saying she's not real. If she was real, she'd be married, and that she ain't nothing but a baby mama. Yeah, okay. But she says that she is consistent in her support of traditional values. In another video titled "I Apologize," she publicly apologizes to her child's father, who she says she wronged. And in the thumbnail, she is crying. This is no doubt done to emotionally drawn viewers, but also to provide evidence of feminine authenticity. Well, I mean, it's hard to say exactly what her motivations are, but I get your point. She states her mistakes and asks for forgiveness. This is a successful performance of tactical patriarchal femininity, where viewers largely praise Courtney for her transparency. One of the video's top comments states, "Y'all have the most authentic content for real. This ain't reality TV. This ain't reality TV. It's reality. Wonderful." Even so, Courtney did enjoy universal praise. Some self-identified male commentator failed to accept her apology. A commentator stated he deserves her and another woman. She broke up his effing home for what? While most viewers accept and support women transforming from being non-traditional or modern to becoming anti-feminist, the Black manosphere supports an unforgiving and static view of women, including the anti-feminist women within their own community. Okay, so again, this is a peer-reviewed article, and you're making these blanket statements. You pointed out one instance where this occurred. Do you have any other data to support this? And we know you watched a bunch of data. What other videos can you mention that would say that they're all doing this? Courtney's consistent performance of true femininity is an elaborate medley of humility towards men in the Black manosphere, but also pretentiousness directed towards other women. She is submissive towards men, but assertive about espousing their talking points to supposedly hostile feminist public, although notably nearly all the negative comments she receives from all her Black manosphere men. In essence, Courtney Michelle must be self-effacing in the content she creates, constantly justifying anything that could fracture her performance. A tactical patriarchal femininity. Despite Courtney's efforts to be taken seriously as an anti-feminist Black woman, she still deals with being accused of being fake, unfeminine, and masculine. So she's saying her performance doesn't work. It's all the performance to her, and it might be. When I did a video about her, people were in my comments saying that it was all an act. So it might be. I don't know. I don't think that all of it should be an act when you turn the cameras off, though. This came to a head in August 2021 when Courtney was pitted against a non-Black woman of color named Amira during a live stream entitled "Courtney Attempts to Hold Amira Accountable." An overwhelming number of viewers sided with Amira over Courtney, and she lost her darling status within the Black manosphere nearly overnight. The video's top comment, notably from another Black woman, sarcastically states, "Is this the feminine, beautiful, inspirational Courtney? Wow. I gotta watch this." I did see some of this thing about Amira, but I'm gonna watch it again. I saw clips of it. I didn't watch the whole thing, so I don't know if she kind of went off or what. Maybe. In response to this, a Black man agrees, saying, "It was all a front from start. She wasn't fooling me, lol." Another user calls her a masculine alpha person, perhaps the most severe insult that they can be leveled at the anti-feminist woman. Despite Courtney's elaborate and protracted performance of tactical patriarchal femininity, she is maligned much like any other Black woman. This just deconstructs in real time the notion that tactical patriarchal femininity protects Black women from misogynist Black men, ire, and abuse. Misogynoirist, excuse me. She still hasn't proven that they're misogynoirist, simply for being misogynoirist. You hate Black women just for the sake of hating Black women. Courtney herself acknowledges this in a rare moment where she partially Courtney herself acknowledged this in a rare moment where she partially critiques the red pill community. She defines red pill as correcting the narrative about black men about being despicable, abusive men, and describes her transformation as to how she's seeing reality. I'm conflicted about the red pill community 2021. I guess that was a video. However, she critiques the way black men within the community treat her and other black women. She argues that some red pill black men are always showcasing black women at their worst. Same thing you're doing, right? Speaking about anti-feminist black women, she reminds men that we're here and we're speaking about anti-feminist black women. She reminds the men that we're here and we are saying what we want to be with you, and that black women who do want to be married and want to be submissive to black men should be positively recognized. Notably, she acknowledges that she is regularly lambasted for being a baby mama, but says you don't have to degrade me because I'm on your team. Yeah, see, I don't agree with that either, man. Why are you guys dealing with it? Why are you guys talking to these ladies, man? Why are you guys going off on it? Why would you? First of all, she's an ally, first of all. Second of all, she has a baby. What good does it do what good is it doing to continue to beat her up over that? I don't understand any of that. This is instructive of the inherent paradox anti-feminist black women are in. While they view their anti-feminism as reason why men should respect and honor them above manosphere black women, they do not recognize that anti-feminism requires the degradation of all black women, including those who support black manosphere ideology. Yeah, why are you guys disrespecting these ladies, man? That's not cool, man. That's not the way to get things done. While they view their anti-feminism as reason why men should respect and honor them above they do not recognize that anti-feminism requires the degradation of all black women. Well, I don't agree with that. They do not recognize that anti-feminism requires the degradation of all black women, including those who support. Yeah, I don't agree with that statement. Once Courtney was put into a competition with a married non-black woman of color, she was degraded. Both men and women within the black manosphere turned against her and removed her pedestal. Well, they probably turned against her because of the stuff that she was saying, and probably because she acted out of that sweet feminine characteristic or character that you're saying, that you're alleging that she operates in. I gotta go back and watch the video though. I've only seen clips. I didn't see where the disrespect came, but I do want to see it. One black woman commentator stated it best when she said, "You created a code for yourself with the image you created and weren't consistent with it. This is tenuous nature of being an anti-feminist black woman content creator. You cannot be consistent for long because your identity as a black woman reads as being manipulative, emotional, and fake." In 2023, Courtney was once again put into competition with another anti-black feminist woman content creator, a white woman named Pearl at Just Pearly Things, who has over 1.3 million subs on YouTube. I don't know why Pearl is fake. Pearl enjoys the support of many black men for men. Courtney critiqued Pearl and the black men who support her. After Pearl brought a known white supremacist onto her show and agreed with his talking points, Courtney incurred significant backlash for critiquing Pearl. Well, she should have critiqued her. I don't know why she got backlash. I'm not aware of this. There's a meme of Courtney that represents her as angrily baring her teeth with sloppy makeup and fits perfectly with the angry black woman caricature that is weaponized by both white supremacists and patriarchal black men. Courtney's pick-me status does not protect her from the same misogynistic disdain directed towards anti-manosphere black women. One commentator succinctly says it all. Courtney Michelle and other black anti-feminist black women started these talking points on YouTube during COVID for likes, the bag. They really don't mean what they truly say. Let's see. A case against pick-me black women. Okay, can we finish this off here? Gosh, dog. Okay, this is the last one. Whew, we're an hour and 15 minutes. I'm probably going to edit a little bit of this. Anti-feminist black women who operate within a decidedly neoliberal framework where their potential individual gain obviates the larger issue of financial precarity facing Black Americans. In essence, these anti-feminist Black women are fundamentally centered around I got mine mentality. This differs from Black feminist worldview, which emphasizes broad anti-capitalism and communal focus. Do you focus on communal? Do you? Because Black men are part of the community. In a stroke of irony, while anti-feminist Black women reject the strong Black women stereotype, many will come to embody it when they find themselves working outside the home, in addition to being solely responsible for a label within it. Listen, if you're working outside the home, you deserve to have some help from your male counterpart. Additionally, for those Black women who are full-time homemakers in patriarchal households, their usual lack of access to the household finances places them in a second-class position within their home. This can, of course, have disastrous effects if the marriage dissolves or they are the victims of abuse. Yeah, so this victim abuse thing and all this, right? Marriage dissolve. This is why men don't want to get married, right? This type of thing, man. The West, capitalism, has created this bad view of this bad arrangement of marriage. It has destroyed what could be something that's beautiful that was meant to help the homes and families. It's not fair that a man should come home, his wife telling him he's upset, she's upset, she doesn't want to be with him anymore. He's got to pay for the next 20 years. It's not fair. It's not fair. Again, to the lady's point, they would say it's not fair for you to have not having built any skills. I didn't build any skills, so now you got to support me, right? So now I need that support, right? I get that argument too. You know, you can't just turn 40, 45 and run off your 20-year-old secretary, right? Ultimately, the Black manosphere is explicit disavowal of Black women's worth. Again, you keep saying that. It's not true. Apart from what they provide for a husband in the role as a patriarchal wife is dangerous to all Black women, including and especially those Black women who claim anti-feminism. She said this before, that Black women have no worth besides their wifely duties. I'm not aware of any content creator who's ever said that, but I haven't listened to all of them. Anti-feminism does not combat dehumanizing views that posit women as masculine, unmarriageable, and undeserving of care and support. You said this before, I'm disagreeing again. Rather, anti-feminist women work to make themselves exceptions to the rule in the bid for conditional respect and protection that rarely materializes long term. Do you have any support that it rarely materializes long term? You pointed out that in one instance, Courtney Michelle went off, but do you have other instances where this rarely pans out? I guess she probably would also say that other woman who's arranging flowers, but it's working out for her. So where is this? Where is that statement really supported at? In addition, anti-feminist thought is inextricably wedded to racism, ableism, homophobia. We got ableism. This is the first time we threw ableism in here. Homophobia, transphobia, and classism. Okay, so here we go with the intersection, multidisciplinary approach. At its worst, Black manosphere ideology justifies and supports violence against Black women, including femicide. Okay, so again, this is why I really wanted to take my time and kind of go through this. So here, this statement here, at worst, Black manosphere ideology justifies and supports violence against Black women, including femicide, right? And you can see that is such a crazy statement, but then she gives where this comes from. This notes here, number 6, Alexandria C. Onohu argues that the Black manosphere contributes to the increased rates of Black femicide in the United States due to this dehumanizing views of Black women and girls. So I went to the article. Here's the article. And I read it. It's not very long, 2-3 minutes. I'm not going to read it here, but because this is already too long. But the manosphere isn't just white. Black femicide and the radicalization of Black male youth. So she writes. So these PhD students are putting this stuff out PhD student in applied developmental psychology. You know, they're writing stuff, man, that just can't be supported. There's no link. I read this article. There's no link in here between manosphere, talking point. She's trying to say it, and she's trying to say that because they're pictured as being masculine, aggressive, that they are undeserving of protection. And that they're being murdered by strangers, right? There are countless stories of black women who are being murdered by men who they knew closely, and by complete strangers, right? These are statements that just kind of throwing in here. She wrote something else in here. Furthermore, scholarly work must prove beyond tracking points. There was another statement here that really needed at that time, black women are losing their lives significantly with higher than human trafficking, other forms. At a time where black women are losing their lives significantly higher than previous years to domestic violence, human trafficking, other configurations of violence, simultaneously the black manosphere is expanding anti-black misogyny to younger generations, causing a snowball effect. You got to show the link between that. You got to show the link between that. You're a PhD student. You got to show the link between that. Can't just say it. Black women and girls are viewed as aggressive, masculine, and unruly, which removes the responsibility of supporting us away from everyone else who is not us. No, you've done that. Saying you're strong, independent, you don't need a man. That's what's removing the veneer of protection. That's what's doing it. The manosphere has been associated with cases of violent misogyny, such as mass violence. I think there's enough. This needs to be documented. There is a paper. I don't know if I showed it. I'm not going to show it again. But there's a paper talks about it. If the manosphere, something like if the manosphere is so bad, or incels are so bad, then how come there isn't more mass violence? And I'm not saying that it's not zero. I'm not saying that it's zero. I'm not saying that incels or there isn't any link, but this mass problem, I'm definitely saying that there is not this mass problem. It's not there. It's not there. She said something in here about checking the manosphere as well. It's where it started from, and I agree. Listen, I agree with that, man. It's grown to this place where it's out of control now. Right here. Unfortunately, black manosphere has become one such assemblage of digital space where users may proliferate spurious anti-black misogynistic views about black women, which can lead to violence against black. It can, but it hasn't. Do we know that it has? It also may not do it. So, that's enough of that. You know, they're saying things that just don't hold up to scrutiny. At best, this community peddles didactic and retrograde gender roles, right? That do not cohere with the socioeconomic reality of most black Americans, right? In other words, you want to take us back to this dual role back in the 1950s, and we all need to work. But do we, though? You know, rather than embrace the differences of black life, and anti-feminist black women and men are attempting to fit within a misshapen room of aspirational white heteropatriarchy, while some anti-feminist black women will nevertheless be successful in their search for a higher-earning husband. This success is arguably less about their performance of tactical patriarchal femininity than it is about their social class, their level of conventional physical attractiveness, and luck, all factors largely outside of their individual woman's control. No, I don't think that. I think that the more feminine you are, the more feminine you are, the more you take care of yourself, then your chances increase, and you don't have to get this high earner, which you can get as an earner. Stop looking for the guy making $250,000 and get with the guy who's making between $50 and $70. That's all the black manosphere is really saying. Most anti-feminist black women will not realize any real benefits from the tactical patriarchal femininity and will in fact be set back by the black manosphere disparaging of higher education for women and its insistence on the devaluing women based on their looks, sexuality. This is a paper that's not based in reality. This is here she goes with the pejoratives again, and the what's the term I want to use, the monologuing, right? It's probably a better word than monologuing, right? The opinions, right? The black manosphere, which thrives on the virulent misogynoir, does not actually function to protect the interests of black women, whether they're anti-feminist or not. While anti-feminist black women laud their roles as homemaker, men in the black manosphere see their roles as being less valuable as their role as being bread-winning man. The black manosphere's allegiance to capitalistic logic informs its capitalistic logic. Don't you live in we're all capitalists, right? Let me quote, I believe she was a principal, Dr. Barbara Sizemore, right? Black people just don't get it, right? And so she made a statement that what problems do we have as black people? We can't solve without money. It's where we live. It's where we live. Listen, I'm not happy about it either, but until we do get something better, this is what we got. So we got to make it work. In essence, being feminine and being wifey are positives with hard limits. Anti-feminist black women must be wise to avoid stigmatization, but in the black manosphere, wives are intellectually, financially, and socially inferior to men. Yeah, I don't know anybody who says that. I'm not aware of anyone who disrespects educated women. I'm just not aware of that. There are more useful alternatives to economically precarity in the care deficit than lauding any anti-feminist or patriarchal ideology. Rethinking labor and work for everyone would do much to assist black women who are drawn to anti-feminism because they want to give their time and attention to themselves and to their family rather than be completely consumed by paid work. For instance, in the full-time work week were less than 40, if the full-time work week were less than 40 hours, if hybridized models of work were normalized in more industries, and if people across career fields and income levels could work 3 or 4 days per week rather than 5 to 6, many anti-feminist black women would have less of all-in-one mentality when it comes to compatibility, motherhood, and working outside the home. Well, here we agree about that. We work too much and play too little. Additionally, if more career paths, including those of open individuals without college degree, begin to offer up a living wage instead of minimum wage, whose jobs could become a vehicle for women's economic self-sufficiency, the United States should also invest in progressive measures such as affordable housing, universal health care, and paid parental leave. Yes, and at the same time, we're going to, smell rainbows and all this kind of stuff. Listen, I definitely agree with this. I agree. Listen, we work too much, play too little. The college educations aren't even worth the money anymore. You're coming out with people who have crackpot theories like this, who are writing pieces, right? So, and we get paid too much, right? Before we used to, in the 1950s, 1960s, somebody could work a full-time job at Sears and Roebuck, and be able to buy a house and support a family. People who work at Walmart got to get subsidies from the government, which I think, our politicians have been sold down the river. The cultural impetus behind retrograde patriarchal gender roles must continually be addressed. Must be, huh? Wow. Why must it be? Because you don't like the dynamic of men as leaders, protectors, and providers in their homes. Men must do their share of domestic labor. Must they? This would alleviate the second shift for women so that working outside the home does not become overtaxed to them. Again, I'll say it again. If you make 100% of the pay, then the other half should be done by you. If it's 50-50, then do 50%. If it's 80-20, whatever. Pick up the slack. And listen, I was a breadwinner for my home, and I did all that. So I cut the grass. I did what I had to do, Misogynoir, both within and beyond the black manosphere, must be consistently attacked So the dehumanizing language toward black women is no longer tolerated. This will make a better world. This will make for a better world and increased opportunities for black women and girls. It is the black feminist hope that one day, instead of black women seeking and needing protection, black women can experience safety in a world devoid of targeted violence and hatred. That would be, targeting just because you are a woman, and that day is never going to exist. There's always going to be monsters, always going to be a monster in the closet. Black women and girls deserve to be radical recipients of love and care that is not predicated on their compliance and patriarchal domination. Yes. I certainly want my daughter to be able to move and live freely in this world. I definitely agree with that. So, all right. So that was my reading of this particular paper. She said that these ladies are putting on the performance. And I want to make this the last. I got some other stuff that I really need to get into. So I'll probably continue making videos. Well, I'll definitely continue making videos, but I got a lot of work I got to get into. So let me know your thoughts, your opinions. I try to give a fair assessment. Where I agreed, I said it. Where I didn't agree, I also said that. So Dr. Bell is saying that this is a tactical patriarchal mindset, that this is a contrived notion, that this is practice, this is a performance that these ladies are putting on. To some of the extent, I agree. Let me ask you this, Dr. Bell, and to anyone else who's going to watch this. Is it a tactical performance by men who are just pretending to be masculine, pretending to work in order to get things? And men want something for their labor. This may be unpopular. This may be something that is really a sticking point to many feminists. And really maybe is that if I'm doing something, if I'm doing something, I want something for it. That's the nature of capitalism and exchange theory, if there is such a term. If there isn't, I made it up. If I do something for you, what do I get? Is the man asking this, right? I think his answer was ridiculous. But what do I get? What do I get for my time? For allowing you to stay home? What do I get for that? And I thought her answer was actually good. You get a homemaker. You don't got to worry about that. I think that was a good answer. So, ladies, I mean, they seem to have a different philosophy from men, and they want us to get along with that philosophy, or come along with that philosophy, or change our philosophy. And the answer to that is a hard, resounding no for many of us. It's a hard no. I'm going out here protecting, providing for my own home. If you want to move into my home, we want to make this thing together. What reason should I have to move you in? Especially with the way that the laws are constructed. Especially with the ways. Why should I move you into my home and take you under my wing? And 5 years later, you tell me you're not happy and you want to take half my stuff. Why should any man risk that? Why should any man risk that? So, and if the answer is okay, I'll just work on my own and just do whatever. We just come together and just not build a life together and not have this traditional hetero patriarchal vision of organization of marriage, then that's a conversation we need to have on a global society. But I'm telling you right now that a lot of men are not going to want to deal with that. I wouldn't deal with that. I wouldn't deal with a woman who's not in any certain long term that I know she's seeing other people. I don't think that ladies want that either. Right? You want your protection and provision to be there for you. But let me know your thoughts, your opinions. I gotta whittle this down here. Hey everybody, it's me again, back at it again. So this is kind of an addendum type of thing, right? So I recorded part 3 to the series that I was doing about this particular article, Black Women, Pickme, Black Women, Tactical Patriarchal Femininity in the Black Manosphere by Dr. Bell. I think I'm actually going to do take a look at incel violence. I might actually do that for my next process here, because I'm really interested, right? And I might do it from the law enforcement aspect. So if you're not following me on LMH Consulting Services, that's probably where I'm going to put that one at, because I'm going to take a look at 2 different articles and really kind of analyze, the breakdown between. I'm going to do a part 1 and part 2. I'm going to look at 2 articles and take a look at the incel violence and mass shootings and all that, and see if there really is a link, right? One lady who is that, I believe she did it for Harvard or University of Rhode Island, and now she's at Harvard, or she switched. I don't know what her name. I don't know. Anyway, and then a guy did one. two guys actually did one about where's all this massive violence. It should be more if incels was such a problem. But anyway, I'm going to get into that. So this is just a kind of a wrap up as far as I just want to do this real brief wrap up. I want to keep this down to less than 10 minutes, and I'll probably put this as a summary to the 3-part series that I did about this paper. Just some things that I noticed that they were lacking in this paper as I was editing this. I just want to make sure I covered these things. Now, this is not to critique Dr. Bell's writing skills or anything like that. She's obviously, a smart lady who's got some things to say. But I just have a problem with this attacks on the manosphere. And let me say, I've also been very, very critical of the manosphere. I have been. I probably will continue to be. I think that the manosphere should be by men, advocating for men, in trying to get us to be better as men. That's what I think it should be. Men advocating for men, trying to get us to be better, giving us life skills, life coaching, telling us about how to buy property, how to get our physical aesthetics in place, telling us to eat right, man up, be how to be a boss, how to be a leader, all that. That's what I think it really, really should be. And that's all I'm trying to do. So when I took a look at this paper, here's some things that I noticed that were missing. And this is not a complete critique. We can't cover everything at all times, but some things I would have liked to have seen that were in there. She talked, and this is in no particular order. I just kind of just remember these and wrote them down as I did it. She talked about men's work being more valuable than women's work, or men being inherently more valuable than women. I don't think there's any support for that. I don't think that there's any. I don't listen to any man. Maybe somebody said it. What they have tried to say in the manosphere is that men and women's roles are simply different. That's all they've said. Men and women's roles are simply different, and that's where I would leave it at. Men and women's roles are simply different. No one's is more valuable than the other, right? If I don't go out there and work, and I'm doing all housework, if we're both doing housework all the time, we're not going to be able to sustain the home. If we're both out there working, somebody's got to be in the house sustaining the home, cooking, cleaning, and if whether we're both doing it or whether one person got to do it. So in the traditional role that many men in the manosphere, I acknowledge that they want, is that they want a woman who's going to be more of a nurturing, domesticated woman. That's what they want. If nobody likes that, then that's fine. But that's what they want. And to denigrate the ladies who also want that, I think is also unfair. All right. So I think that was it. There was no real data and statistics, right? She talked about the Moynihan report. She talked about E. Franklin Fraser's work, and didn't really rebut any of the things that they were saying, right? So almost all of her links were other articles by other so-called feminists, right? There was no actual links, right? When they talk about, and one of the big disappointments that I had was they talked about, this link between the manosphere and violence, right? And she linked to another PhD student who was writing about that, tried to make this link, but we still haven't covered that link. That's why I said I want to cover this link by these two articles that I found. I want to see if there's a link there, right? Because they didn't cover it in this particular work, that there is a definite, because men in the manosphere are denying the humanity somehow of ladies, particularly black women, that leaves them open to more violence because they are women. That's the argument. They're misogynoir, exhibited by black males in the manosphere, leads to more violence towards black women. And I don't think that that's a fair correlation or causation at all. I don't think that that's fair. And if there is, please give us the data. It wasn't included in this paper. And she talked about E. Franklin Fraser again, and Patrick Moynihan's report of the 1960s didn't show anything to rebut those particular groups of data, right? What's wrong with wanting to be a provider male? They talk about the patriarchy and heterosexual normative type of stuff, and capitalism, all this intersectional type of language. What's wrong with wanting to be a protector and provider? Please elaborate on what's wrong inherently with a man who wants his wife to stay at home and to be more of a domesticated individual. What is wrong with that? Same thing that we're saying as far as the ladies. If this is life that you want, you don't want that. You want a domesticated husband. If you want to be out there in the workforce and making good bank, then okay. So let me just talk a little bit more about this lack of value. It's not lack of value as a human being. What it is a lack of value to a man in on his game and on his purpose. That's the point. If I'm on my game and I'm on my purpose, if I've gone to school, if I've got my MBA, if I've opened up a business, then the person who I allow to be in my life has to bring value to me and to my home and to what I'm doing. That's the argument. And they don't. If some people don't want that, they want a partnership and they want 50-50. Well, those things also require a give and take as well, right? So if I'm making $80,000 a year, you're making $80,000 a year. Why do I got to spend my money? This is a real question that we were all asking. Why do I have to spend 100% of my money on the bills and you get to stack your cash? So I should contribute $40,000 into the household. You contribute $40,000 or $50,000, and we save the rest. And what do we do with the rest? Do you get to spend yours on trips and hair and nails? And what do I get to spend mine on? Right. So you got to come together about that. It's just coming together and having a conversation as to if we're both working, what we're both going to do, as well as both how we're going to handle these chores. And many men are saying, I want a more domesticated woman. So Kevin Samuels and other people have said, then you got to be able to provide that type of lifestyle with your finances. If you can't provide it, then stop asking for it. No issues with that. Men want a traditional wife who's friendly, fit, feminine, all that type of stuff, right? Ladies have had traditionally no problem with saying that they want certain attributes in a man. How tall he is, how much money he makes, his socioeconomic status, make sure he's not an educated lame. Even though he's got to be educated, he still can't be lame. He's got to be Tupac in a suit. And I had no problems with saying any of that. But as soon as a man says he wants a woman who's fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, submissive, and all that, then that's a problem. There was also no definitions given for patriarchy. Now, some of this probably should have been axiomatic, but it's not, right? You're trying to make a convincing argument, right? And let me back up for a second here. When you write these I know that she knows this. I'm saying this for the audience. When you write these type of papers, right, you're trying to fill in the gap, right? Trying to fill in, why are we addressing this? What is the problem that's trying to be addressed? And I would assume by the title, right, even from the abstract there, right, she's assuming that there's some type of problem that she's trying to fix. And what is that? What specifically was that problem? That the manosphere is causing damage, or the pickmes are causing damage to the femininity movement? What exactly, precisely, was the deliberacy of the argument? What was the urgency of the argument to do this, right? To write this, right? What was it? What are we trying to do? What is this tactical patriarchal femininity? Was it just that they're a bunch of fakes and frauds, and they're putting on the performance, and they don't really mean it? It could be, So there was really no definition of patriarchy that was given. She kept saying, well, these patriarchal systems. Well, what specifically do you mean when you say that? Do you mean that the man is the head of the household? The man just goes to work and makes more money? What particularly are you talking about when you say these type of words? What is your definition of submissive? Right? Some people, if ladies, we know this, right? You've watched enough content where they say, and here I'm talking to Ms. Bell and others, right? If they say that they want a woman, if the woman says that they want a man who's some type of leader, protector, and provider, those are generally the 3 Ps that you're going to get: leader, protector, provider. All with the other attributes is about how tall he is, and that goes into the protection aspect and all this other stuff. If you want these things, what's wrong with that? Nobody's ever said that there's anything wrong with that. Short guys just gotta suck it up. Hey, it just is what it is, and you gotta manifest and do it the best you can with what you have. But what is it wrong with being submissive? Again, if you want a leader, then don't you want to be? If you want a leader, and does he have to lead the family and you, or does co-leaders? I mean, you got to explain what you mean by submissive, so we can understand exactly what it is, and give us an example of what that would be intolerable to you, because it was almost as if it was used in the article as a pejorative. What was the problem? What was the issue? Right? Talked about the retrograde, doesn't want to go back to the economics and systems and all that. Let's see. So generally in the article, she was talking about, kicking in a greater share of the housework. And it seems to me that seems to be really the argument that we're coming. That when I hear this, I hear a lot about, the family dynamics and the arguments over how much housework each individual is doing. I had a lady tell me the same thing. Listen, I don't want to go back to I'm doing 100% of the housework. Okay, but there are articles, and I pulled them up and I talked about them, in which men, I think I talked about in like part 2 or part 1 of this series, right, where there are studies that show that men who do more housework get less sex. Sometimes it works out. There are articles both ways. I try to give straight down the middle there. But so it goes both ways. So you want a guy to take this chance about maybe if I do more housework, maybe I'll get it. And right. And that's just not on top of the regular stress and routine. And you've been together for 5 years and you want to try new tricks and he's boring or she's boring. Right. So you got to fight. Not only you got to fight that regular routineness about marriage life, but then you got to fight, over the quality of the sexual satisfaction in regards to the housework aspects. All this got to be ironed out, right? So it really seems to me that there's an argument about how much housework needs to be going on. I'm working 50% of the time too, and Dr. Bell acknowledges this, right? Black people have never had this luxury of the 1940s and 50s housewives, right? We've never been in that place. And so to want that now and demand that and say that I don't want to do as a man, I don't want to do as much housework, that probably is a little unfair, right? If you're bringing in 80% of the work, then it's time for you to do 20% of the housework. I don't think there's a problem with that. Otherwise, step your game up and do 100%. So again, let me go back to the idea of about worthlessness. This is about I addressed this a little bit, but it's about money. And education, money, education, right? So it has to be good for the family. It has to be good for the family. Generally, men don't want a woman who's going to be there, who's not contributing somehow to the family. What is your contribution? What does your education do for the family? Is your education allowing you to open up better economic doors that you're going to share your resources now with the family? Do we now get to move into a bigger house because you're bringing in more money? Do we now get to move to a better school system so we can educate our kids? Do we now chip in more for college education and college funds? How does that work out? That's the answer to that. So if we want to solve the equitable share of housework, then let's solve also the equitable share of finances. And again, that's all for each individual couple to have those serious conversations about what are you doing with your money if you're working, all these hours, right? So that would come down to that. No rebuttal to the Fraser-Monahan report. She talked about the emasculization or the masculinization of the ladies and the feminization of boys. I think that should have been laid out a little bit more. Do you agree with that concept or do you not agree with that concept? Right. The literature is filled with that. You can go on Google Scholar and see all kind of articles about that. Do you agree with that assessment or do you not agree with that assessment? This was not addressed in this article. Again, can't address everything, but if you're going to bring it up, I think that you ought to bring up more than just the blurbs of it. You ought to say a sentence or two about whether you think it's true or not. And here's an article about whether I think it's true or not. I think that I would have been greatly, greatly appreciated. Again, no definitions of patriarchy, femininity, or submission. Maybe she just thought these things were just axiomatic. But again, if you're trying to paint a picture and trying to give a point of view as to why these things are bad for ladies, bad for the future of female advancement, then I think you ought to give some definitions of what you mean by men demanding submission. What does that mean? What does that mean to you? And what does that mean for the greater of the female culture, female gender? And I'll leave it off right there. That's my basic summary. I thought it was an article that was written. She obviously has a bone to pick with the black manosphere, number one, and with black ladies in the manosphere, caping for the men in the manosphere. She thought that they were, and she thinks that they are putting on a performance, selling them something that they can never have, and she says it's never going to come true. Right? Your storybook ending, Disneyfication, that's the word I'm using, Kevin Samuels, that I got from Kevin Samuels, is never going to happen, and all that. So I think that all that is good. Well, it wasn't good, but it just is what it is. And this is why she wrote the articles, because she has a problem with feminism. She has a problem with masculinity, has a problem with the black manosphere, has a problem with ladies in the manosphere putting on this airs, putting on a performance in order to engage in tactical patriarchal femininity to get their attention and the financial support of very high status men. So let me know your thoughts, your opinions, and if you have not watched the other 3 videos, please take time to do so. I just wanted to do the summary at the end of this video and do a quick summary that will help to give thoughts about this particular article. She targeted 2 individuals by name in a 3rd podcast in the article. I wonder what their thoughts about it are. And do I have critiques of the black manosphere? Yes. I think that there's a lot of scammers in it. I do think that. I think a lot of people are just following the trend in going for clicks and likes and doing what's popular now, the war between men and women. I think that the space needs to be professionalized by those with businesses and PhDs and those who have political clout in order to make some definite advancements to advocate for young men and boys that we can have a better life. There was clearly many advocates for the ladies space in order for them to do better, to get birth control, to enter the workplace, to get more money, yada, yada, yada. All that I think that was great, fine, and fair. But the question now is, has feminism gone way too far, and have we advocated for ladies at the sacrifice of men? And that's the question that needs to be answered, because men are suffering right now. So much love and peace, everyone.